Tim, our camping and caravanning club site near Ellesmere is very peaceful, even when it's completely full, like now. It's right on the edge of the Shropshire Union Canal and provides moorings for narrowboats. Campers use the canal for water activities like paddleboarding. Isn't it embarrassing when your mother can do it better than you?
It's been quiet down there, Isaac, without you.
Even Grandad can show you up.
We took a walk along the towpath on the opposite side of the canal from the site. Since it was August, there were plenty of boats to watch as we went.
It's alright, it's not far out.
The canal links the Manchester Ship Canal at Ellesmere Port to the West Midlands network near Wolverhampton, 60 miles away, passing mainly through rural areas. It was the last narrow canal route to be built in England. Opened in 1835, it was the last major civil engineering project of Thomas Telford.
Close to the canal is Colmere, the only mere or lake in North Shropshire to have a circular walk round it. It's almost completely surrounded by mature woodland and hay meadows with wild flowers. There's a vineyard at the edge of the village.
Passing the little Blakemere, we drove to Ellesmere. The mere itself has a promenade with lots of seats where you can just sit and watch the birds. The mere was created by the retreat of the Ice Age about 10,000 years ago and is the biggest of 9 meres in the region. It covers an area of about 1/5 of a square mile and is 62 feet deep. The mere provides a year-round home to many species of birds and other wildlife. Ellesmere Basin is on the edge of the attractive market town of the same name, just behind Tesco in fact. It provides useful overnight moorings and a chance to stock up on provisions.
To the north and just over the Welsh border, 2 miles south of Wrexham, is Irthing, a National Trust property dating from the 17th century. We didn't go into the house as we'd been before, but wandered round the beautifully restored 18th century garden. Just beyond the flower garden are rows of pleached lime trees, where shoots are trained and woven together to form a regular shape. Paths run between formal hedges, herbaceous borders and well-trained fruit trees. At the far end of the formal garden are a couple of lakes, complete with water lilies and ducks. The walled garden is crammed with bee-friendly flowers because just at the end are the estate's beehives. A gate from here leads into the courtyard, where you can get a cuppa.
A 5-arched 16th century bridge crosses the River Dee from the Wrexham to Whitchurch Road and leads to Bangor on Dee. A riverside walk gives views of the village, which dates back to 50 AD. The church is believed to have been built in 1300. 12 miles southeast of Ellesmere is Sweep Airfield, home to the Shropshire Aero Club. On a warm summer's day, it's very pleasant to just sit here with a cuppa from the club's cafe and watch the planes taking off and landing.
Ten miles further south is Hoffmond Abbey, an English heritage property. Founded in the early 12th century and built between the 12th and 15th centuries, it was home to a community of Augustinian canons. After closing in 1539 during Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries, the abbey slowly fell into ruins. The hall was an entertainment and public dining room for the abbot and his household. The withdrawing chamber was where the abbot relaxed or entertained privileged guests. The massive fireplaces were where food was prepared for the canons. They washed their hands at the lava under these arches before eating next door in the refectory. The drain carried away waste from the latrines. Beyond the accommodation is the religious side. The chapter house was where the canons met every day to discuss business. At one time there were cloisters in front of the arches, but these have now gone. In the far corner are the remnants of the Abbey Church, with statues of St. Peter and Paul at either side of the entrance to the nave. How sad to see such a beautiful building destroyed.
5 miles further south is Attingham Park, another National Trust property. The entrance is through the stable yard, and from the other side of the yard the gravel path leads round to the walled garden, a 10-minute walk away. Fruit and vegetables grown here are used in the cafe as well as being sold in the shop. The garden was built in the 1780s to provide the mansion with fruit, vegetables and flowers. This Georgian kitchen garden was closed in the 1960s and fell into disrepair, but has been brought back to life over the last 10 years. From the walled garden, the mile walk goes through the woodland and alongside the river to return to the mansion and exit.
"5 miles southwest of our base at Ellesmere is Whittington, famous for its moated castle. Resident swans Lady Beatrice and Sir Tom led cygnets Vera and Lynn around the moat. At the heart of the 12-acre site are the remains of a 12th century Norman castle and gatehouse. Once inside the walls, you can walk all round the site and go up onto the wooden bridge to look at the ruins more closely.
Over the border in Wales, Lake Vyrnwy is 35 miles from Ellesmere. The dam was built in the 1880s to provide water for Liverpool. When it's full, the lake covers 1 3/4 square miles and is 84 feet deep. The lake is surrounded by an RSPB nature reserve. Before we left, we went for an ice cream at the cafe by the dam. Just outside Llangollen, about 15 miles west of Ellesmere, are the Horseshoe Falls. These were created by a 460-foot weir across the River Dee. It was built to feed water into the Llangollen Canal, now part of the Shropshire Union system. The water flows through a channel which isn't navigable, but does have a path alongside it. The channel parallels the River Dee and the road bridge crosses both. The chain bridge, actually a suspension bridge, is the third to be built on this site. It was closed in the 1980s as unsafe, but restored in 2015. The path to and from the bridge goes along the terrace of the chain bridge hotel. The Dee then flows into Llangollen.
Near to Llangollen we saw the giant Pontcysylt Aquaduct, so we thought we'd go and get a closer look at it. We parked at the canal basin at Pontcysylt, where there's a lifting road bridge, which has to be raised by hand to allow boats to sail under it. The boats can then go straight under the footbridge next to it. We walked north along the towpath and soon came to a floating shop selling handcrafted goods. We chatted to the owner about cats as she knitted a fancy hat to add to her stock. We continued along the towpath, passing moored boats, until we came to the aqueduct. Opened in 1805, this 18-arch stone and cast iron structure was built to carry the Llangollen Canal across the Dee Valley. The aqueduct is 336 yards long, 12 feet wide and 5 feet 3 inches deep. The towpath is mounted above the water so that water displaced by the boats can flow under it and around the boats. The aqueduct stands 126 feet above the river and the edge of the trough is only 6 inches above the water. The northern end of the aqueduct is at Trevor Basin, where boats have to wait their turn to cross. Boats continuing to Llangollen must make a very tight turn under the bridge. Otherwise they can moor up to visit the pub, have a picnic, or pass under the next bridge to settle under the trees for the night. And that completes a full circle of the area around Ellesmere.